You know that Claude can help you, but you've not actually got a clue what it can do for you and how it can actually help you. This is the big problem that I see at the moment. And if you're anything like me, when I know how to navigate around something or when I understand the functionality of something, I can get into it really, really quickly. And I always use the analogy to people that, and people on my YouTube channel, you probably see that I love a hike, I love a mountain climb. If I went out into the Lake District or the Peak District without my Garmin watch and without the GPS and I was relying on maps alone, I'd probably find it quite problematic, you could say. So navigation for me is something that I really, really try to get right first. So especially when it comes to like terminal code, this is tough in terms of navigation. Took me a while, but when I got my head around the functionality to it, I really started to rip into it. So that's what I want to cover on today's YouTube video, and I've actually got some like interactive assets that I'm going to show you as well, because I want to spell this out to you. I want to make it easy. Like, look, I'm obviously doing these videos because I'd love to work with you. That's kind of what I do. I help businesses, I help people, and what we do at the Coach Consultant is much more than just AI. There's so much human element to it. There's so much care, and I really hope that does come around down the line. But today, let's get into some functionality. So what you've basically got down on the bottom here, you've got Ben Oaks. So if you go up to settings, and then if you basically click onto capabilities and code execution and file creation, what this basically does is it allows you to start doing a little bit more interactive and higher level basically output. So for example, if I went onto my chat, right, and what you've got to remember here is always thinking about what you are actually prompting. So the thing is, when you start turning on more capabilities, your prompting skills need to improve, because you will need to request it as a markdown document or an MD document or a Excel sheet or a Google Word sheet or a Google file or a HTML. Like, you need to just get your head into understanding that you need to directly ask the actual AI system what you actually want from it. So, and this is just on a general chat perspective. But what you've basically got, and I'll just pop this open, right, is so many different functionalities when it comes to Claude AI. And this is growing all of the time, especially as these new connector MCPs and API integrations start building in. You can really start to do some kind of high level stuff. So I want to spell it out. I want to make this really easy for you. I don't want you to be kind of coming in and having your head blown. So let's just do it as a step-by-step process. So this is basically the type of stuff that you can build with Claude AI, right? Really simple. So you can build out documents, you can actually build out Word documents, you can build out PDF files, you can build down Markdown files. So if you're coming in and you're asking for something from the AI system, you need to just turn around and think, well, where am I going to be saving this? Am I saving this to a Google Drive, or am I going to be saving this locally to my computer? You can connect your Google Drive up as a connector and ask it as a Google document. But these skills are really important, because otherwise you might get frustrated because you just want a text and it's suddenly processing you and coding you a HTML link. So it's just really important to have these type of awareness and stuff. So next thing, you've got spreadsheets. So you can basically look at actual data analysis. You can have interactive reporting platforms. You can have artifacts. You can download it as a Google sheet. You can actually download it as an Excel file itself. Presentations, you can build presentations on here. Canva decks, you can connect Gamma slides. So that's commonly what I do. Or I still actually, I don't know why, but when I build stuff at the moment, I still process my content with Claude and I just copy it into Gamma. I personally think that for how long it takes for Claude to process the information to then configure to Gamma and build it, I could have done it faster myself. But that's because I've got different screens going. But you can do it directly there. So what you've got is all these different connectors, and we'll 100% do another video on that at some point. You've also got coding and apps, but this is where people are just going in high level way too quickly, right? And also bypassing permissions and building stuff and thinking they're suddenly going to do X, Y, and Z, and it's like, no, like, let's just get things right in your own business first and stop getting distracted by other areas. Diagrams and visuals, so you've got charts, graphs, SVG, flow charts, you've got research writing, web, long form, summaries, analysis, everything. And then you've got these standard connectors. So you've got Google Drive, Gmail, Google Calendar, Canva, Gamma, Excalibur, Netify. You've got endless stuff that you can basically use. So if you're kind of looking and thinking about, like, right, what can I do in terms of capabilities? Generally just ask and just connect, right? So you can actually start to go onto connectors and then start searching some stuff. So the most common areas that I use is like Gamma, Excalibur, Canva, Drive, Gmail. But obviously I mostly just work on terminal code now. But if you're thinking, right, well, how can I actually start to test and try different stuff? to start connecting some bits, right? So connecting your Google Drive search, or even just connecting it and submitting a Google Drive link into it. Or you might be coming onto here and let's just say, right, give me a text list for all the Claude functionalities that you've got now when I've got the capabilities turned on for code execution and file creation. So let's just go through like a little example now. So this is now going to, because I've turned around and said, give it to me as text, right? Hopefully, yeah, it's done it. Sometimes it doesn't, so you got to be careful. Right, so this is now giving me a list. So code execution, I've got file creation, I've then got reading and processing. So you've then got an artifact. I like artifacts because it basically enables you to like visually see it a little bit more. Now can you give it to me as a artifact so I can visually see it a bit more? Don't worry about having to spell things perfectly right all the time. So as you can basically see, that said artifact rather than artifact. That's probably because I said it wrong as well. But if you are using Whisperflow, it'll pick up your words sometimes and you don't have to think, oh God, I need to go back and spell that correctly. All the AI system is basically going to do is it's going to look at the functionality. It's going to look at the context of what you're saying and it will basically understand it, right? So this now is just, in essence, just building this for me as like a really easy visual structure that I can really start to think, oh, well, right now I can process that a little bit better. Sometimes when you're doing mass amounts of information, right, sometimes when I run an output, especially on code, it could be upwards of 1,000 times bigger than that, for example. So for me to scan and read all of that text, it's like, whoa, that's really, really intense. So what you might do is you might be like, right, well, I just want to visually see this and I just want to process it to start. So what we can do now is like, right, can you actually now build this for me as a Google Sheet? So you can also get to a point, I'm not going to, again, another video, you can connect your actual like Google Drive up and your Google Sheets up to Cowork and it will just build stuff for you. But what I've basically found is I actually like to just create something from scratch and get it to a really good point just on a normal chat perspective. Because sometimes when you use Cowork or projects and you connect and you're telling it to edit it and go back and forth, and it's going into like the app scripts and it's making changes, it sometimes just gets to a point of confusing itself. So what I like to do is I like to design and build something from scratch as good and high level as I possibly can. And then if down the line, so for example, if I pulled my to-do list over, this is something that I kind of built. There's nothing crazy on there anyway, nothing illegal, I don't think anyway. This is like a task management sheet that I built for myself so I could look at how long it would take me to do stuff. So this is something that I built on Claude. It took me about 10 minutes, if that. And then what basically it does is this gives me an overview to everything, but there were a little cell that were broken, right? So I don't know how to fix app scripts, so all I did is I went onto that, clicked onto it, and then basically went onto my Cowork and said, this cell currently isn't working at the moment. Can you just go in and fix it for me? But that's very different to going in and going, I don't like all of this. Can you adjust all of the app scripts, right? And that's just a skill. That's just experience, right? When you're building something, build it to the best of your capability. Don't try and just do a basic level and then go back and forth getting AI to be logging in and out of your app scripts because it just starts to get to a point of scraping and confusion. So as you can see now, I've asked it to build me as a Google Sheet. So this has now built it as a Google Sheet so I can have a look over it, see if I'm happy with it. And then this is what I mean by making sure it's right. So I might turn around here and be like, can you actually put all of this in Poppins text? If you're part of the Coach Consultant, you will know my obsession with Poppins text. I've had to drop it though because code likes processing in less tokens and it does it in Arial, so I've had to do a lot of my docs in Arial, which I'm not happy about at all. But Poppins text is look how user friendly that is. It's beautiful. I'm really keen on making things as formatted as properly as possible, right? So then that's an Excel sheet, right? So then I could go to the next level from there. What's the next level? I could be like, right, now we've got that. Can you actually build this for me as a HTML link? So this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So we're at a point, yes, you can 100%, and I do it on code, I can build interactive assets. Like I did this for my community the other day. Really, really, really cool. And I've just basically hosted it on a GitHub live link. And then if I went onto here, onto the accelerator, which is now just one single assessment form, and then it's added to the drive there. This is basically something that I built on as a HTML. So people will take this, they will go through 25 questions, it will run an assessment on their business, and what we're looking for is the highest ROI activities that they can go through based on where they're currently at, and then it will direct them to a direct system that I have built to be a solution for that. So that there is built on HTML, and then it's just hosted on GitHub as a live link, but you can connect it to your domain. So what this is doing now, as you can see, it's coming in at really, really high level. This is like literally coding, right? It's coding for you. And remember, this is where people get quite confused. You can code away from using code. You can code away from using terminal code. Like it's got the functionality to absolutely everything. So I could even come in at this point. So that's now going to load like what it would look like as a visual like kind of page. And then I can copy that, but it won't make that much sense because it's just a load of code. So you've got to connect that to something and host it somewhere like GitHub or on your actual domain. So all I want you to start thinking about is like all of this type of stuff you would usually have to pay people literally, I can't even begin to express how much I've paid for Google Sheets to be built before, for designs on websites, for an admin assistant to be doing loads of little stuff for me, whereas now I can just easily do it myself. So when you can process all of these different types of outputs and formats and different structures, start thinking about how can you improve your business, how can you improve your operations, how can you improve your management, how can you have better SOPs, how can you give people better structures, what can you do for clients and your offer. And you have to basically live in that place of impossibility. And then that's where I live now. And I'm actually going to do some YouTube videos on how you can actually get to a point of understanding that that's all this is about now. It is literally just about living in a place of impossibility. I'll tell you what, if I actually go onto my terminal code now, and I'll just pop onto there. Can you open up the presentation as a live HTML link that I actually did on AI adoption? Because I think it'd be real useful for this YouTube video. So now that's connected, that knows all my shit, guys. It knows everything. So I don't even need to locate stuff anymore or think, oh, where have I saved that link or who have I sent it to someone. I'll literally just get my agent to go and find out where that link is. So on this little AI adoption presentation, it's just got the importance of like breaking down skills and breaking down different elements and breaking down pretty much everything that you could possibly know. So what I might do, I'll see how long that's going to take to find, but I'll make like a short version of that for you to have a click through underneath this YouTube video, and then what it'll basically do is just kind of, actually I'll tell you what, I actually did a live presentation for 7-figure business owners 2 weeks ago. I will share the actual link in the YouTube description of this so you can look at some AI skills, AI adoption elements, and understanding the element of living in impossibility, guys. But obviously, like I said, I can literally give this to you, all of it, as a copy and paste SOP, plus me supporting you at every single point in this journey, plus an incredible community, incredible in-person events, never forgetting the importance of personal branding, which is why not only do we just have the personal branding SS, which is a very, very big course on everything to do with personal branding, but we've also got me, Dave Fell, on Social Circle. We've got events on social media and loads of different stuff. So hope that you've enjoyed this one on a bit of functionality in the different areas, and I hope to see you on the inside of the Coach Consultant at some point soon.